Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Cage. I'm your host, Eddie Mafia. Hope we are all doing well out there today. Again, hope we had a great week. And, hope we are enjoying everything. And I apologize. My voice is a little raspy right now. I'm a little under the weather. So just something, a little disclaimer for everybody who's watching. I apologize. But you know what? It's the weekend now. And we're getting through it. And we'll be all good. But we are recapping today. UFC Fight Night took place in Vancouver, Canada at the Rogers Arena last Saturday, September 14th. Headliner was Cowboy Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje. Really good fight. Before we get into the main event, however, I'm going to talk about a couple of the fights in the undercard that were notable, one of which was Uriah Hall versus Antonio Carlos Jr. Middleweight bout of Uriah Hall. Right now they have ranked at number 11 in the middleweight division, as well as Antonio Carlos Jr., ranked number 13. Uriah Hall, for those of you who don't remember, he was on The Ultimate Fighter a few years ago, and you might remember him from his famous spinning back kick knockout, which looked a little something like this. Really tough guy. Both these guys are tough. Junior used his wrestling a lot through this fight. He used it to his advantage. He took Hall down 3 times, which surprised me a little bit. Because I felt like Uriah, being a well-rounded fighter that he is, he would have had some more takedown defense, but he didn't really utilize it at all this whole fight. He pretty much just gave up his leg when Junior went to go shoot in. He let him get in on it, and he didn't really use any defense to capitalize on it, which was a little bit surprising to me. I felt like he would have had better takedown defense. But he took him down 3 times nonetheless. Regardless of the takedowns, however, Uriah Hall did end up coming out with the win via decision. He knocked Junior down a couple times, and he was just more just controlling of the octagon on his feet, throwing combos, and he stayed more active throughout the fight, regardless of the fact he got taken down 3 times. Overall, he did have a better performance. He had greater significant strikes, even though, he did let Junior get in on those shots. He kind of just gave up his leg, which is a little bit surprising to me. However, Hall had a great fight, and he came out with the win on top. So shout out to him. Another quick fight to mention, Glover Teixeira, 39 years old, been around in the UFC for a very long time. He beat Nikita Krylov via decision also. Krylov being 12 years younger than Teixeira. Teixeira's 39, which is crazy. He's been around for a really long time, but the guy's still kicking. Gotta tip my hat to him, putting on performances like he did last Saturday. He hung in there, stuck it out. He also won via decision. So, great performance for him. And I'm just wondering where else he's going to advance in that division, being that he's 39 years old, and he's had a great run to begin with, so it's just interesting to see what these guys can do, how their mobility changes from as they get older. So we're going to have to see which matchup maybe they'll give him next, but shout out to him, being 39 years old, still kicking it in the octagon. But moving into the main event, we had Cowboy Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje. This was Cowboy's 50th pro MMA fight. He's been around for a really long time. His overall record right now is 36-12. So he's been around for a long, long time. Has a long history in the UFC. He's a very distinguished fighter. He's established himself as one of the most respected fighters of the time, I would say. Coming in, though, Gaethje was favorited, the minus 185 favorite, and he ended up pulling the victory via TKO knockout in the very first round, which was really interesting to me because first round was it's funny because first round usually people are filling each other out. Usually nothing significant happens when in that case when you're just filling each other out, when you're trying to get used to the style of each person, and you're just kind of like filling out your opponent, right? But towards the end of the first round is when the knockout happened, and basically Gaethje just caught him with a solid right hand, dropped him. I think there was only 1:18 left in the round, and then he kept on going. Like once Cowboy was down, but he kind of like looked at Gaethje, looked at the ref like, "Are you going to stop it?" Like he didn't. It seemed like to me he didn't want to keep going, which is a very respectful thing, honestly. If you knock a guy down and then you don't want not giving any more damage than you would have liked to, then what is necessary, I should say. So he was looking at the ref, basically just kind of like, hey, like you're gonna like pop in, you're gonna like intervene right now, like what's going on? So he caught him with the right, dropped him, and then that happened. So that was just really interesting to me. But aside from that, prior to that, it was a really good first round. It was pretty much even back and forth. Nothing too significant, just kind of trading shots. No one attempted for any takedowns really. No one got any takedowns. It was on their feet the whole time. So Gaethje came out with that win at the end. And, it's a big win for him. It just further advances him in that division. Cowboy is a known name. People like him. People know him. People know how distinguished of a fighter he is. And that just further influences Gaethje's reputation, I should say, as a fighter in the UFC. So going in, looking ahead to further bouts, I know I had talked about last week, Paul Felder actually called out Gaethje. That would be a good matchup I'd like to see. So we'll have to see about that prior to, like I said, also the Barboza-Felder 3 fight, whenever that might happen. So yeah, guys, I think that's going to be it for today. Kind of a quick episode. Like I said before, I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize for that. But we'll be coming back next week with some more content, some more details on some further things happening in the UFC. There's been some more developments in the last week regarding Conor's comeback, who's going to be the one to fight him, who wants to fight him, things like that. So we'll be talking more about that in the coming weeks. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. I'm Eddie Mafia for Inside the Cage. Thanks for tuning in.